Hi, my name's Satu Vänskä from the ACO Underground, and you're watching this on Moshcam. Pretty much curating and doing the programs and performing and sort of taking the blame when everything goes wrong, I guess. I'd describe that it's probably a sort of a new genre of music because most my colleagues and I, we from a so-called classical orchestra. But having said that, we actually play so many different types of music within the classical music alone, and then we also play a lot of non-classical music, so I think it's gone very blurred. We don't anymore talk about classical music or rock music, or it's more of a concept of what kind of music goes well together, and so I think anyone who'd come along would be quite surprised at what they hear, because we put, for example, we put so-called classical composers like Shostakovich and Weber next to grunge music, because the sentiment, I think, is similar. You know, you have the same sort of psychic terror, feel to it. Or we have Bach with old German songs that Marlene Dietrich was singing. Or we get, and everything in between. And actually the part of it is also to play more sort of contemporary classical music also, to put it into this context. Well, a lot of it is what your own interests lie at the moment, and then also we have so much repertoire within the orchestra and with the music that we played that you sort of start putting things together. This goes well with this goes well with this, and oh, this is a nice contrast to the other thing, and so that's pretty much how it. And then you have a deadline, and then you have to have something. So I think we have more the problem that there's so much that you can program that you don't know how to reduce. I am my own person. I don't need a host to live. Yeah, well, we have the string players. It's ACO musicians, so musicians from the Australian Chamber Orchestra, and the two other musicians who now seem to be the fitting band members of this project is Paganini and Brian Ritchie, who are both, just really fantastic musicians in their own rights. And for example, Brian plays this acoustic bass, big acoustic bass, but guitar bass, which the sound really gives a lot to. Adds a lot to our acoustic instruments. Jim, but he can play also but it's just a beautiful sound that he gets out of it. And Jim is also another really versatile musician who has great ears, great the whole musical world. They do very varied things, so they understand. So for us, it's a little bit of maybe us going a bit out of our comfort zone, but also for them to go. So they play in so-called classical pieces sometimes with us in this project too. And whereas we play, and we play then, whatever, Look on that bright side, suicide. Lost eyesight, I'm on your side. Angel left wing, right wing, broken wing. Like a fire on and or sleeping. Actually quite a few, but there are few that I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to doing the Lutheran hymn, actually. That's great fun, something from, and also, of course, I'm very excited about the meal kit. but we'll see what happens. Yeah. That's really, we're very, very lucky because he's been the composer in residence for ACO for these past couple of weeks. And because he happened to be in town, we asked, would you like to play? And he, of course, because, well, Jonny is himself in his, you know, outside of his Radiohead work hat, he's a composer and what you'd call, I guess, a contemporary classical composer. So he has this very interesting mix that he can actually skip to our world, and it's really wonderful. And that's pretty much the idea of this whole ACO Underground, to get people together who are curious and who are interested and who can do things and skip the boundaries, so to say.